Connie is sitting in the parking lot of a credit union on a Thursday after work, engine off, phone in her hand. She has the Social Security estimator open again. She has been here before. Not at this credit union specifically, but at this exact moment, staring at three numbers on a screen. The benefit at 62, roughly $1,600 a month. The benefit at 67, around $2,300. The benefit at 70, just over $2,800. She has run the break-even math so many times, she can almost recite it. If she claims at 62 and lives past 78 or 79, she loses money compared to waiting. If she dies before then, she comes out ahead by claiming early. The math is clean. The decision is not. Connie is 61. She has 31 years at a school district, a 403B with about $320,000, a small savings account, a house with 6 years left on the mortgage, and a husband named Phil who still works as an electrician, but whose knees are starting to make that decision for him. She is ready to stop working. But every time she looks at the break-even number, she freezes because both answers feel like a trap. Here is the part that almost never gets surfaced in the standard Social Security conversation. The break-even calculation, the one every online tool gives you, the one every article walks through, treats the decision as if it exists in a vacuum, as if the only variable is how long you live. But for households like Connie and Phil's, the claiming decision does not happen in a vacuum. It happens inside a living financial system where every other piece moves the moment you touch this one. And the cost of what happens in between, the years you fund yourself while waiting for a larger benefit, is the number that rarely appears on any calculator. When I hear someone say they ran the break-even math on claiming at 62 versus 70 and they are confident in the answer, I always want to ask one follow-up question. Did you calculate what the bridge actually costs? Not in theory, in practice, in your household. I think of this as the bridge cost. And once you see it clearly, the break-even debate starts to look like the wrong conversation entirely. The bridge cost is everything your household absorbs financially, tax-wise, and emotionally during the years you delay claiming in order to secure a higher monthly benefit later. It includes the withdrawals you pull from retirement accounts to replace the Social Security income you are not yet receiving. It includes the tax consequences of those withdrawals. It includes what happens to your Medicare premiums if those withdrawals push your income above certain thresholds. It includes the portfolio risk you take on by drawing down during a potentially volatile window. And it includes something no spreadsheet captures: the psychological weight of watching your savings drop year after year while you wait for a number that does not arrive until 70. For Connie, the bridge cost is the real question, and she has never once seen it calculated. Let me walk through what it actually looks like in her situation. Connie retires at 62. She does not claim Social Security. She wants to wait, maybe not until 70, but at least until her full retirement age of 67. That means 5 years, 60 months, where she needs income and Social Security is not providing it. Her pension from the school district is small, roughly $700 a month. Phil is still working, but his take-home after taxes and union dues covers their shared bills with very little margin. So, to replace the $1,600 a month she is foregoing by not claiming at 62, Connie begins withdrawing from her 403B. That is $19,200 a year. Over 5 years, that is $96,000, nearly a third of her retirement account, before she ever receives a single Social Security check. And that raw number, as large as it is, understates the real cost. Here is where the bridge cost compounds. Those 403B withdrawals are taxable income. Connie's pension is also taxable. Phil's electrician income is taxable. Stack all of it together, and Connie may find herself in a higher federal tax bracket during the very years she assumed her income would be lower. Research from retirement planning firms like Fidelity and Vanguard often highlights this exact paradox. Retirees who delay Social Security to get a bigger check sometimes push their taxable income higher during the bridge years than it would have been if they had simply claimed early and withdrawn less from savings. And the tax consequences do not stop at the bracket. If Connie's modified adjusted gross income crosses certain thresholds during those bridge years, her Medicare Part B and Part D premiums can jump through what is known as IRMA, Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amounts. These surcharges are based on income from 2 years prior, which means a withdrawal Connie makes at 63 could raise her premiums at 65 when she first enrolls in Medicare. Many households never connect those two events because they are separated by time. But the system connects them automatically. Now, layer on a risk that no calculator accounts for: sequence of returns. Connie is pulling roughly $20,000 a year from her 403B, starting at 62. If the market drops meaningfully in year 1 or 2 of that withdrawal period, she is not just losing money. She is selling shares at depressed prices to fund her bridge, and those shares never get the chance to recover. Retirement researchers have written extensively about how the order of investment returns in early retirement matters far more than the average return. And Connie's bridge years are exactly the window where this risk is sharpest. She is not invested recklessly. She has a moderate allocation. But she is withdrawing during the one period where a bad sequence could permanently reduce what is left in the account by the time Social Security finally kicks in. And then there is the piece that makes the bridge cost most personal: Phil's knees. Phil is 63. He is planning to work until 66, maybe 67. But planning and doing are different things when your body is involved. If Phil has to start working earlier than expected, which retirement surveys suggest happens to nearly 40% of workers who planned to retire later, then suddenly both of them are drawing from the same savings pool. The bridge gets wider and the cost climbs faster. If Phil also delays his own Social Security, the bridge doubles. If he claims early to reduce pressure, his benefit is permanently reduced, which matters most in the scenario neither of them wants to think about, the one where Phil dies first and Connie, as the surviving spouse, is left with only the higher of the two benefits. Survivor benefit rules in Social Security mean that if Phil claimed early and Connie delayed, her survivor benefit may still be limited by Phil's reduced amount, depending on the circumstances. The break-even math never showed Connie this. It was too busy comparing her age at death to a crossover point on a graph. So, what does a clearer approach look like for someone standing where Connie is standing? It starts with abandoning the break-even question as the primary frame and replacing it with a household cash flow simulation that includes the bridge cost explicitly, not just the benefit amounts at different ages, but the full picture. What gets withdrawn? From which account? In what tax year? At what bracket? With what Medicare consequence? And under what market conditions? Connie does not need to become a tax expert. But she does need to see her retirement as a system with connected parts, not as one isolated Social Security decision. For some households, the math actually favors claiming earlier, not because they will die young, but because the bridge cost of waiting is so high in withdrawals, taxes, premiums, and risk that the larger check at 70 never fully repays what was spent getting there. For others, the bridge is manageable and the delayed benefit is worth it, especially when survivor protection is factored in. The answer depends on the household. It always depends on the household. What Connie can do this week is pull up her most recent 403B statement, write down Phil's expected income for the next 3 years, and calculate what the household actually needs monthly if she stops working and does not claim. That single number, the bridge payment, is more important than the break-even age. This month, she can explore what those bridge withdrawals would do to her tax bracket and whether there are ways to sequence income. Maybe a partial Roth conversion, maybe adjusting Phil's withholding, maybe claiming at 64 instead of 62 or 70. That reduce the total bridge cost without forfeiting everything the delay was supposed to provide. Over the next year, the goal is not to find the perfect claiming age. It is to build a withdrawal and income plan where the claiming age fits inside a structure that the household can actually sustain. Connie is still in the parking lot. The estimator is still open. But for the first time in months, she is not staring at 3 numbers trying to figure out which one wins. She is thinking about what happens in between them. She is thinking about the withdrawals, the taxes, Phil's needs, the Medicare enrollment at 65, and the 6 years left on the mortgage. She is not more certain than she was an hour ago, but she is asking a better question. And in household finance, a better question is almost always worth more than a premature answer. If something in this made you rethink how you have been approaching your own claiming decision, or if you have already lived through the bridge and learned something the hard way, I would genuinely like to hear about it. The comments on these videos tend to be more useful than most of what gets published on the topic, and that is not an exaggeration.